Welcome back. Now, with President Trump's 30% tariff on all South African imports set to take effect this Friday, the citrus industry has appealed to President Ramaphosa to request an extension of the current 10% tariff. This as the steep tariff hike will likely bring the industry to its knees, impacting jobs and its overall growth potential. Until now, the sector was expected to add 100,000 new jobs to the market by 2032. Boitshoko Ntshabele, CEO of the Citrus Growers Association, joins us with more detail around the industry's concerns. Boitshoko, thanks so much for your time this afternoon. I guess let's start with the current operating environment and how the industry has fared so far with that 10% tariff in place.
Thank you very much for having us. Listen, the season has gone relatively well. We've gone past the middle of our season, and so far it's a good season, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. And now that we know that we have been threatened with that 30% tariff by President Trump, and negotiations are ongoing, talk to me about what you'd like the president to do, because what can he do in this scenario when we are, just waiting for President Trump and his administration to get back to us?
So this is negotiations. And negotiations about two parties. It's about finding each other. It's about options. Mm-hmm. What we are asking is that, given where we are and the timeline of the 1st of August, one of the options that should be on the table is that if South Africa and the U.S. administration cannot find a mutually acceptable solution, an interim solution that looks like an extension should be found. This is because, as I've said, we are in the middle of our export season, and this would almost give both sides time to consider avenues to find a mutually acceptable solution for trade between South Africa and the U.S.
And has the association been engaging with government, with perhaps the Department of Trade, to put through these proposals, these plans?
We've been in discussions with government since what was termed Liberation Day, since the day the announcements were made by President Trump, and various options have been on the table. You would recall when these were announced, an initial extension was given to the 9th of July. And just before the 9th of July, this was moved to the 1st of August, which is where the timeline that we are facing. So we've been in discussions with government. We've been going toing and froing, looking at various options, which led to what was then submitted around the 20th of May this year. You would recall when President Ramaphosa was in the Oval Office. So we've been working up to that point together with the DTIC and the DOA, but since then we've again been talking to each other in terms of what are the options that are available, including the one that the president spoke about in terms of diversification.
Mm-hmm. And let's talk about diversification and diverting citrus exports to other markets. I noted that the association mentioned that it's not that simple.
Of course, it is not. So like anything else, it's about the rules. It's also about customers and also customer preferences. So citrus is grown for particular markets because of taste preference in those markets, and therein lies the devil, in that certain consumers prefer a certain type of citrus fruit, which might not be similar to another market. Invariably, there's also what are called sanitary and phytosanitary standards, which a country sets to allow the importation of commodities into their territory. And this has to do with diseases and pests that they do not want to import in the facilitation of trade. So it's not easy just to pivot from one market to another. You almost have to if you like, match and place, so to speak, if that becomes a possibility. The other risk that you face is that if you are able to find that market wherein you can divert the fruit, there's also demand. and that South Africa is not the only country that goes into that market. And there's always the risk of oversupply in that market, which would depress price and ultimately impact the rest of the industry. So the real risk we also face is that if a market becomes oversupplied, you have a drop in price, which then again impacts the industry from a profitability point of view.
And talking about profitability, talk to me about what's at stake. Let's quantify it in monetary value. Talk to me about job losses at stake as well when it comes to this tariff, this looming tariff that we're facing.
So we export about 7 million cartons. We've passed the halfway point of the seasons, and that's one of the reasons why we're asking for an extension. We are hoping that at least for this season, we have some sense of normalcy in that if we complete it, we can have a bit of time to start planning about what happens the next season. The point also to realize is that if we lose this season and the next, it becomes almost a perilous situation for us. And that is why we believe that a negotiation of, call it a stay of execution in the interim, allows both sides to really consider options in a way that doesn't harm industries that are affected. We argue that from a citrus point of view, we export and keep citrus consumers in the U.S. interested in the citrus fruit when the U.S. is out of season. And therefore, we do not threaten the U.S. jobs or the U.S. markets for that matter. What we are doing is that we are ensuring that consumers remain captured, if you like, in terms of their consumption of citrus. And then when the U.S. itself is back in their season, they still have those consumers to consume their citrus, which is probably one of the best strategies where you would see a win-win between us and the U.S. Citrus growers. So we don't compete with them, we don't threaten them. And in fact, we still believe that we shouldn't be levied a tariff. It's only that all of us now are sort of used to the 10%, and we've created a new normal of 10% tariffs. 6 months ago, we didn't all have a tariff. We had AGOA, we had tariff-free market.
And I've been saying it's Trump's world and we just live in it. But quickly before I let you go, what is the sentiment on the ground? How are farmers feeling?
Look, we are facing a potentially devastating situation. So the citrus growers in the Northern Cape and the Western Cape employ 35,000 people. There's a lot of anxiety. There's a lot of worry in terms of what happens. These are small towns with populations of 5, 6, 7,000 people. You can imagine that citrus is the biggest employer in town. What happens when that goes past? Just peril.
I can imagine. Thanks so much for your time and just taking us through what's playing out in the industry as we await the 1st of August deadline. That was Boitshoko Ntshabele, CEO of the Citrus Growers Association.